All right, welcome to Hannity. In 4 days, just 4 days, the polls will be open. You will have the power to decide the balance of power in Washington, D.C. Remember, a vote for any Democrat in the House, that's a vote for Nancy Pelosi, Maxine Waters, Gerald Nadler, Shifty Schiff. A vote for any Democrat in the Senate, you're basically voting for Chuck Schumer. This is the reality. We'll show you all the stats to back it up tonight. It looks unusually close this midterm election, and it looks like turnout is going to be key. As per usual, Democrats have been using the politics of fear, division, to motivate their base. You've seen it with your own eyes for months, vilifying Trump, his supporters, and even the man that he appointed to the U.S. Supreme Court. No lie too egregious, no exaggeration too bold, no smear too absurd. Democrats are willing to do and say anything because they want power. And we've been showing you the tapes to prove it every night. But tonight, the president, he's out pounding on the campaign trail, fighting like never before. And unlike Democrats, he actually has a track record and a positive message to share. With great news today, the economy is now booming like never before. We'll show you today's numbers, and also we will have more analysis from all the critical election races all across America. Bill Hemmer will join us from the Hannity Big Board. Plus, we're going to give you an exclusive new Project Veritas videos, 2 of them. And we have an update from the crisis at our southern border. Buckle up. Midterms, 4 days away. It's almost game time. But first, time for tonight's breaking news opening monologue. All right, President Trump, he is out pounding the campaign trail again. This weekend, he'll be making stops in 4 different states. Today, he held 2 major rallies, Indiana and West Virginia. Let's take a look.
We are finally putting America first. It's been a long time. But if Chuck Schumer, Crying Chuck, and Nancy Pelosi, and the legendary Maxine Waters take power, they will try to erase our gains and eradicate our progress. That's what's going to happen.
President Trump campaigning in West Virginia. That means one thing. Incumbent Democrat Joe Manchin is in serious trouble. You do know that he won like by 40 points in 2016 in West Virginia. Tonight, Democrats spread a message of fear and division like they do every 2 and 4 years. President Trump, a very positive message to deliver today. His agenda, it is working. The evidence is in. The economy is booming like never before. And just today, new numbers. The Labor Department announced big news, a whopping 250,000 more new jobs added in just the month of October, shattering all expectations, even in spite of a hurricane. And unemployment, well, it's at a 49-year low, 3.7%. We now have a record number of Americans employed. And wage growth, look at this number. It is now surging past 3%. That means real money in real people's pockets for the first time since 2009. And overall, nearly 4.5 million jobs have been added since President Trump has been elected. Now, keep in mind, we already have record low unemployment for Hispanic Americans, African Americans, Asian Americans, women in the workplace, youth unemployment. We literally have more jobs available, about 1 million, than we actually have on food stamps. We have more people out of poverty than ever before. There are more jobs than we have people for. The country, we have success after success, shattering every record on the books. And record low unemployment in 14 states. Now even some on the left, they can't help but admit the Trump agenda is actually working. We're getting all these election week conversions. Look at this. Former Obama economic advisor touting the jobs numbers, calling the jobs report, quote, everything you could ever want. In a New York op-ed for Fox News, former Clinton advisor Mark Penn, he praised the president for taking a bold stance on major issues. Americans tonight are taking notice 4 days out of an election. It is why the president's approval numbers are continuing to soar, hitting 51% in the latest Rasmussen poll. So 4 days until the important midterm elections. Ask yourself this question. Is President Trump delivering on his promises? Is he keeping his word? Well, he's going all in. You can see it. 11 cities, 11 states, 11 stops in just, 5, 6 days. Fighting for every vote, crisscrossing the country at the speed of Trump, all on behalf of the policies that are working for the forgotten men and women that suffered 8 years under Barack Obama. Because of every objective economic measure, you look at it, we are better off. Meanwhile, Democrats, no plan to make your life better. They offered nothing but what? Daily hate, division, obstruction. They want higher taxes, more regulations, more Obamacare, more open borders, more sanctuary cities. They obstruct originalist justices that believe in the Constitution. They want endless investigations. They want to even go back to the phony Trump-Russia collusion claims. Ask yourself, how is any of this agenda going to improve your life? Make no mistake, there are no moderates left in the Democratic Party today. This is a party of radical extremists. Any moderates have long been driven out into extinction. Every Democrat you elect votes as a bloc based on the direction of Chuck Schumer in the Senate, Nancy Pelosi in the House. In the Senate, Montana Democrat, incumbent, John Tester. He votes with Chucky Schumer 87% of the time. By the way, Montana voted for Trump. By the way, he calls himself a moderate. He is anything but. He's Chuck Schumer, except he lives in Montana. In Ohio, Senator Sherrod Brown, look at this. He votes with Schumer a whopping 98% of the time. In Florida, Bill Do-Nothing Nelson, he votes with Schumer 88% of the time. North Dakota, Heidi Heitkamp, she supports Schumer 70% of the time. West Virginia, Joe Manchin sides with Schumer 64% of the time. Every county in West Virginia voted for Trump. Indiana, Joe Donnelly, well, he says he's a moderate. He's not. He votes with Schumer by a whopping rate of 74%, especially on the big issues. And Donnelly, now in the last week of the campaign, he's trying to appear to be something he's not. Just like we saw in Tennessee and in Missouri and in Arizona and in North Dakota and in Florida. He's trying to pretend he's a moderate. And as you can see, that's a bald-faced lie. According to a report from the Daily Beast, he's actually running a stealth campaign. Look at this. In Indiana, running ads in support of the third-party libertarian. That candidate literally is siphoning away votes from Michael Braun. They're splitting the ticket. They're doing it on purpose. Now, he knows he could not win. Joe Donnelly could not win a one-on-one battle with Michael Braun against a Republican. Now, this is dirty, despicable politics, yet predictable at its worst. And today, a brand new undercover Project Veritas video. Guess what? Joe Donnelly's wife and campaign staff all scheming once again to cover up just how liberal Joe Donnelly really is. As again, as always, we show you the tape. You get to decide.
What's Senator Donnelly's take on, like, right to work? Do you know? We looked it up.
You want to answer this?
Sorry.
It takes away workers' rights and destroys unions. He's
Okay.
for working families.
He's for working families.
But he supports the unions, right?
Well,
No.
don't say that.
Sorry, no, but I'm just wondering for myself.
Yes.
Got it. It's almost like Donnelly has to play down being liberal. Does that make sense?
Yeah, he does, especially in Indiana, just because, like, we're
Super
so
red.
conservative. You know, we have, like, 4 or 5 safe Democratic counties.
He gets to stifle more of, like, his liberal side to kind of even get the platform in the first place.
I feel like probably.
It sucks.
To some extent, because
Yeah, it sucks.
I know for a fact that he's losing voters because of Kavanaugh.
He voted no.
Because he voted no.
Now, we reached out to the Donnelly campaign. They didn't return our request for comment, but is anyone really shocked? We have been showing you this in all of these red states. Democrats pretending to be something they are not. Countless examples, caught on camera, plotting to seem less liberal, less extreme, basically bamboozling, purposely lying to the people in their states. They want to hide just how far left the entire Democratic Party has become. They are out of touch. They have contempt for the voters. Claire McCaskill saying, well, she's not one of the crazy Democrats, when in fact she actually is. John Tester complaining that the Democratic Party botched the Kavanaugh debate. Yeah, they didn't give him a chance. Remember, Montana was against Kavanaugh, and Tester was against Kavanaugh from the beginning. Joe Donnelly actually ran an ad warning about socialists and government-run health care. His party, his BFF, his new friend, his buddy Chucky Schumer, gave us that failure, gave us that monstrosity. Nobody kept their doctor, their plans, and everyone paid more. And many people only have one choice of a health care provider. This is a lie campaign. Now, they almost always vote with Schumer. They support the far-left policies of Schumer. They constantly work to obstruct President Trump and his agenda. All they want is power, and they have contempt, and they're caught on tape. Bredesen, caught on tape. Claire McCaskill, caught on tape. Heidi Heitkamp, caught on tape. Kristen Sinema, caught on tape. Now we have Joe Donnelly caught on tape. Gillum, the one who's running for governor in Florida, caught on tape. Look no further than Kavanaugh and Gorsuch. Only an extreme party line far-left Democrat would vote against these two highly qualified, impeccable candidates. And we saw what happened. No due process, no presumption of innocence. And tonight we have yet another revealing Project Veritas video to show you. This time, yes, it comes from the great state of Texas. By the way, $80 million they have been using in Texas to smear and slander Ted Cruz, who has been a staunch constitutional conservative for 6 years. And they've come up with their new hero, their new anointed one, Beto, Bozo O'Rourke, as I call him. He's caught on tape, people in his campaign, scheming to divert campaign funds to help migrants entering our country. By the way, potential huge campaign violation. We report, you view it, you get to decide. Take a look.
I think we can use that those cards to buy some food and buy liquid milk bars. Oh, yeah. All that can be totally massive. Like, oh no, we still like a healthy breakfast and shit like, you know.
I know that we're using some of the campaign resources to help with the migrants, and like I just didn't want anyone to get in trouble with that. Like I didn't want them to ask me any questions about people using resources.
I'm going to show you this. Don't worry.
I don't want to get caught. We could be fined $50,000. Oh, in a statement, by the way, Bozo O'Rourke's campaign, they attacked Ted Cruz of using fear and paranoia. You can see their words on tape, projectveritas.com. Meanwhile, former communist turned former CIA director turned fake news conspiracy TV theorist, MSNBC hack John Brennan has now officially endorsed Bozo. And tonight, Senator Ted Cruz maintains the lead. That race is tight. $80 million liberal Democrats have thrown against Ted Cruz. Texans, Bozo does not represent Texas values. It is that simple. In Florida tonight, hugely successful governor Rick Scott. He's in a very, very tight race. Too close to call against incumbent liberal do-nothing Senator Bill Nelson. The race for governor also just as close. Republican Freedom Caucus member Ron DeSantis making a last-minute push as his opponent, far-left Tallahassee Mayor Andrew Gillum, facing tonight serious charges of corruption, actually taking tickets to the Broadway hit show Hamilton. He took them from an undercover FBI agent running a bribery scheme. And guess what? Apparently worked. Gillum also accepting a luxury vacation in Costa Rica from a lobbyist in another possible bribery scheme. Gillum reportedly facing federal investigation as we speak tonight. Yesterday calling the corruption charges a sideshow. I think all of you probably want free tickets, free vacations, free. Take a look.
If the president's called me a thief, if I'm stealing anything, it's hearts and minds. We're going to win this race, frankly, because of that reason. On the issue, as I've said all along, I have zero tolerance for corruption. I am not under FBI investigation, and neither is my city. What we have done is aided them all the way along. Hamilton has, again, been a sideshow.
Oh, I'm stealing hearts and minds and cash for Hamilton tickets and free luxury vacations. Gillum wins, probably won't even finish his first term. You see, he can't be governor of Florida from a federal prison. Let's see what happens. Now, despite everything we have just showed you, Nancy Pelosi, she couldn't be more confident, guaranteeing a huge Democratic victory a few days ago. Now, even left-winger, far left-wing conspiracy theorist Michael Moore thinks Pelosi went too far. There's a problem when you lose him. Take a look.
Not going to make the mistake that someone else made on a late night show a couple nights ago.
Okay.
A Democrat.
Yes.
Who just automatically announced we're going to win. And it's like, my God, that's what happened in 2016. Everybody was throwing the party for Hillary before the election.
Notice how all these Hollywood liberals, rich Hollywood liberals, it's kind of interesting. They always support policies that never work for the people of this country, like Michael Moore. You lose Michael Moore, by the way, Nancy, you know you're treading on some dangerous ground. Now, for years, Democrats, they have relied on the monolithic support from Hollywood to get that message out. And one of their favorite far-left actors, poor little Alec Baldwin, is in trouble. Watch this.
Can you imagine any other president saying this? No, because that would be the action of a dictator or a king, not the president of the United States.
Alec Baldwin, he was actually arrested today in New York City for allegedly punching someone in the face. What about a parking spot dispute? But the left thinks Angry Alec is the perfect messenger for their platform. You know what? Probably is. All right, before we go tonight, we must address a topic that grows more serious with each passing day. Thousands upon thousands illegal immigrants still marching toward our southern border. And while the majority of those migrants, probably 99%, have good intentions, probably want what we take for granted. They are in search of a better life for themselves and their families. There is a massive security risk at play here. Nobody can vouch for any one of these people. Department of Homeland Security is now reporting and assessing tonight that 270 people in that caravan of thousands are either known gang members or have criminal backgrounds. Now the president is vowing to turn back the caravan, saying he is willing to commit as many as 15,000 troops in order to secure our border, protect our sovereignty, respect our laws. He also told those who intend to illegally come into this country they should turn back now. They are wasting their time. By the way, our troops have already begun arriving from McAllen, Texas on Thursday. More are on the way. And tonight we're learning that a group of migrants have already filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration for violating their constitutional rights. And they're not even at the border yet. They're not citizens. And, of course, the Democrats, they're not allowed to talk about this. John Podesta's group says, don't talk about it. Just switch topics. They don't want to talk about any of this. They don't want to talk about what they really believe because they support open borders, sanctuary cities, sanctuary states. Doesn't matter how much it costs you, the taxpayer. Now, they also rolled out their retired, fearless leader. Yes, he's back. Former President Obama, the anointed one, who mocked Americans' caravan concerns as nothing more than a political stunt.
Now in 2018, they're telling you the existential threat to America is a bunch of poor refugees 1,000 miles away. They're even taking our brave troops away from their families for a political stunt at the border.
I think he's lost a step or two. Doesn't quite have the magic he once did. According to a new study tonight, look at this. 6 in 10 Americans, they want the troops to stop the migrant caravan from entering our country illegally. 51% of Hispanic Americans also support troops at our southern border. Sadly, Democrats are putting their heads in the sand instead of securing our border, protecting Americans, respecting our sovereignty, our Constitution. We know their plan. Open borders, sanctuary cities, regardless of how much it costs the American taxpayer. Instead of growing the economy, creating jobs, they want what? They want to raise taxes. This is what this election is about. You want to raise taxes or cut taxes? You want to protect our Constitution, or do you like those that block constitutionalist judges and smear and slander and eliminate all due process and presumption of innocence? Instead of improving the lives of the forgotten men and women that make this country great, what do they want? Endless investigations. Really? More Trump-Russia collusion for another 2 years? In 4 days, this coming Tuesday, you have the power to shock the world. You can stand up for common sense, for what is working, everything that makes America great. This election is about jobs, higher taxes versus tax cuts, whether or not our borders will be secure or not, energy independence or energy dependence. This is about America being strong on the national stage or not. This is about America for your kids, for our future. A lot at stake. When we come back, Bill Hemmer at the Hannity Big Board tonight. We'll take a look at the Senate and House races that matter the most. They all do. Herman Cain, Mark Penn will be here later. A big announcement. Stay with us. A lot of news tonight. All right, only 4 days left until you, the American people, head to the polls. Joining us now from the Hannity Big Board, America's Newsroom co-host, Bill Hemmer. You know, yesterday you were using the old baby Hannity Big Board, and I'm like, we got the bigger Big Board. And I'm like, what happened?
You want to supersize it, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
Well, you'll see that on Tuesday night. I don't want to give too many secrets away just yet. But, Sean, in a moment, I'm going to show you the what-if scenario that you predicted last night for the Senate, okay? And I want to see in a moment if you change your mind over 24 hours. Is that a deal?
All right, you got it.
Okay. All right. First, I want to start with the House. And, Sean, here's what I want to take our viewers through. On Tuesday night around 7 o'clock, what are the telltale signs about how this race is going? The polls close at 7 o'clock in Indiana. Virginia, a lot of good House races there. In the state of Georgia, good governor's race down there. And at 7:30, we move into Ohio, West Virginia, then North Carolina, a couple good House races here as well. At 8 o'clock, I think this is really where you start to digest the data. This is where we start to get an idea as to which way perhaps this race is going, especially on the House side. And here's what I'm looking at, Sean. We have, at the moment, at least 29 races that we think are pure toss-ups. But in Pennsylvania here with the contours of New Jersey, we have 8 different races that we think are in play. Red is lean Republican, blue is lean Democrat. The yellow ones here are pure toss-ups. It is my hunch, Sean, I don't know if you agree or disagree with this, but I think if Democrats, I think they could win net 3 House seats in Pennsylvania. Remember, they went redistricting back in January, so it's really not apples to apples from 2 years ago. So I think if they do better than 3, we could be in for a good night for the Democrats. If it's
it was a big change, though. When they gerrymandered again, that was a big deal. And you're right, they redid the districts to for the very purpose that they could pick up these seats.
So I've done the math. I think it's a net of 3 for Democrats. If it's higher than that, then they could be off to a good night. If it's at 3 or less, then it could be a better sign for the GOP. Now, conversely, for Republicans, Sean, I always come back here to Florida because I keep driving myself down the I-4 corridor in my mind. You know, Tampa, Orlando, Daytona. There are 2 House races down here that lean Republican, 15 and 16. If Republicans hold them early in the night, again, this is around 8 o'clock, 8:30 in the evening. It'd be a good sign for the GOP. The other one I'm watching here is back in Ohio. Now, remember, just a few months ago, we had that special election. This is Ohio District 12. This is Columbus, Ohio, the suburbs out to the rural areas. If Troy Balderson holds on, and we might get an indication early on the night, again, it would be a good sign for the Republicans. So we'll see how this goes. And again, I mentioned the 29 toss-ups. These are the districts on the map, and we'll tell a story for you throughout the coming days for what matters and where. Now you want to talk about the Senate, okay? Where was the president today? He was in West Virginia. He was in Indiana. West Virginia, you know about that Senate race right now, Patrick Morrissey against Joe Manchin. This is where all the polls come together. Manchin appears to have a lead by about 8 points, but I'll just take you back 2 years. I mean, this is an extraordinary thing. These are presidential results from 2016 in West Virginia. Do the math there, Sean. That's 42 points where the president was a winner there. And that's, again, why he thinks he's got a really good shot again flipping that seat for Morrissey. By the way, congressional seat number 3-2 is up for grabs in West Virginia. Pop over to Indiana real quick. State that he won by 20 points 2 years ago. The Senate race there, we know where it is. It's Joe Donnelly, the Democrat, Mike Braun, the Republican. You look at the polls, smash them all together, and it looks like Donnelly has about a 1-point lead there. Now, last night we did a what if, right, for the Senate for you. Let's go ahead and dial this up and tell me where you think something could give here. Remember, we started 51-49 Republicans and Democrats. Last night you said Missouri flips, right?
I say Missouri. Well, first the Republicans have to hold Tennessee, Nevada with Dean Heller and Martha McSally, I hope and I believe she would win Arizona. So they hold those 3.
Okay.
Florida is too close to call in my mind. I do believe North Dakota will flip. I believe John Tester is in trouble. Indiana is so close. The only thing holding back the Republican Mike Braun there is the Libertarian in that race. So all of these are fluid. I'm not sure about West Virginia. That would be an outlier, as would be the state of New Jersey. Bob Menendez is in big trouble. They have put huge resources in at the last hour to help him. So net pickup, I would say Missouri. I would say net pickup North Dakota.
Okay.
I would say net pickup Indiana, and we can go from there.
Okay, I'm going to flip Indiana, okay? This is your final answer, right? You're at 54-46.
I'm where I was yesterday. That's right. I didn't change my mind. Bill Hemmer, thank you. We'll be watching. We'll see you back here Monday. Joining us now with Reaction America Fighting Back, Chairman Herman Cain, former Clinton pollster advisor Mark Penn, who had a great piece out. Good to see you both. Mark, let's start with you. You seem to have a grasp. It really is a phenomenon. And to be fair to Democrats, Clinton had it to a certain extent in '92. Obama had it in 2008. and Trump has it, and he's not running, and Trump has these crowds and these overflows that are massive. People don't seem to be counting that.
Well, I think that we missed in 2016 how these rallies really made a difference. And I think it looks like President Trump is pursuing a Senate strategy, that this thing's likely to be a split decision, and a split decision in midterms after the first 2 years of a presidency is as close to a win as you're likely to get. But I think that, something's going on here with the insults being flown around. What I really said today in the piece in FoxNews.com is, look, we see insults on both sides. I think where Trump had the advantage in 2016 was he hit issues, whether he's hitting the economy, where he's got a 57% approval, or immigration, where he is provocative, not always on the side. I don't agree with all of the policies, but he's talking about issues. And the failure of Democrats is not to join issues, get out there on health care, infrastructure, redoing the cities, crime. You don't hear any of that being joined on the other side, and I think that's a big mistake.
I agree with you. Democrats have not picked a single issue that they're running on. They're even being told to stay away from immigration, to just stop talking about impeachment. A lot of hate Trump rhetoric and want the crumbs back, and they really show that they want open borders. But Herman Cain, I do think that we got to take seriously history and headwinds. And I think Mark is right. If the Republicans pick up seats in the Senate, that's a huge win. Even if the Democrats were to take back the House, we got to just go back and look at history. In '94, for the first time in 40 years, Newt Gingrich won the House for Republicans. That was Bill Clinton's first midterm. 2010 was a blowout. That was the first midterm for Barack Obama. Huge Republican pickups. So the president has certainly a lot of headwinds as it relates to the House. I would say the House right now leaning tonight towards Democrats because so many toss-ups are Republican holds or Republican must-holds. But I think the Senate goes Republican.
For sure we know that we will know after Tuesday night. But here's the thing. Today is a lot different than those other 2 years that you referenced, those other 2 situations, and here's why. People have more access to information than they've ever had, which I believe is going to change what has happened historically in terms of how this might turn out. I'm still cautiously optimistic that the Republicans will maintain control of the House and Republicans will maintain control of the Senate. I'm not counting whether they're going to pick up seats, but I'm maintaining that they may control. And here's why. You have some people out there called secret conservatives that aren't making any noise. They aren't saying anything. They aren't participating in the polls. I think the polls are directional, but the polls are not exact in terms of what we think the outcome is going to be. But the big thing is people have access to more and better information themselves.
Well, certainly, look, the polls were wrong in 2004. Exit polls showed John Kerry was president. In 2016, couldn't have been more wrong. Couldn't have been more wrong in 2014. There is something to, I think, Mark, what Herman is saying here. Now, by the way, I view fear as a great motivator. Fear of Nancy Pelosi really having a good shot here hopefully motivates people, but at least on the conservative side. But the reality is, if pollsters get it wrong this time, we might be making the case the polls are irrelevant in the era of Trump.
Well, look, I agree with that. There's a conventional wisdom here based on the polls that the Democrats will take the House and the Republicans will hold and probably expand their lead in the Senate. If that happens, us pollsters are going to look good again. We kind of knew what was going on. If something happens either way, there's a Democratic wave that we didn't expect, and the Democrats get everything. Or there's a Republican wave, and you hold on. That's clearly not what the polls are saying. And therefore, we're going to really have to question the polls in Trump, in the era of Trump, as they become harder and harder to do. But I think this is going to be the return of conventional wisdom.
You're going with that. What do you go? Herman, you're predicting both houses? Republican.
I'm predicting both houses. You cannot buy elections today the way you used to.
I am predicting too close to call. They'll pick up seats in the Senate and in the House. I would say advantage tonight, Democrats. I just tell the truth. But you can shock the world. We'll explain more as the program unfolds. Sarah Sanders on the media's outright despicable, horrific, unprecedentedly low coverage leading up to the midterms, and an important announcement. It's pretty important. We'll tell you about that come later in the show. All right, so this week we saw the hate Trump, destroy Trump, mainstream media blatantly rooting for the Democrats to win in 4 days. In case you missed it, well, here are some of the examples.
If you want a slight check on this man and his unrelenting race to the finish here to make sure he can continue destroying this country, you might want to vote all D.
Instead of standing up to this kind of hate mongering by President Trump, Republicans are imitating it.
I know I haven't stopped praying since you were elected. Dear God, when will this end?
All right, joining us now with reaction, White House Press Secretary, the hardest job in the entire universe. Sarah Sanders is with us. Good to see you. This went from, look, there's been nonstop hate almost from the day Melania and the president came down the escalator. But this took on a whole new level this week. Racist, Nazi comparisons, just never ending. Blaming the president for the synagogue shooting, and yet the guy that shot up the synagogue and committed that act of terror, that anti-Semitic act, hated Trump because of his strong support for Israel. That's how bad things have gotten.
It's absolutely disgusting. I'm just glad to see there's no bias in the media. That's my favorite part of all the clips that you just showed is they constantly talk about how they're fair in their reporting. But what you just gave us was a glimpse into every day with many in the media. One of the saddest truths is that they want to blame this president for every single problem in the world, but refuse to give him any credit for all of the success that he's had. It's absolutely outrageous, and I think you just saw a great taste and a sad truth of what we deal with, unfortunately, every day.
You know, for example, you watch fake news CNN, and they deserve every criticism they get. It is almost every second, every minute, every hour of every day that this is all that they do is demonize the president. And it's not even deep. It's gone beyond what we get every 2 and 4 years. Racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, dirty air, water, kill children and throw granny over the cliff. Now it's responsible for terrorism or some nut that you know, sends bombs to innocent people.
One of the things that I found so startling, there was a poll that came out just today that showed over 60% of the country feels like the media is dividing the country, and only 17% thinks they actually do anything to help bring people together. Yet they continue to try to place the blame on the president. It is absolutely outrageous. We saw CNN, the first thing they did after the suspicious packages were mailed, it wasn't to condemn the individual. It was to go after the president. The first thing the president did was condemn the individual, go after that person. At some point, Democrats and the media have to put personal responsibility on people that are carrying out these heinous acts and doing these despicable things, yet they continue to want to try to put every single bad thing in the world on the president, and it's just getting out of control.
In a weird way, and it was funny to get lectured by Jeff Zucker, and I'm like, watch thy own network, and you might see, you know, the very thing that they accuse the president of. But in a weird way, with the public 60+% seeing that the media is that way, I think I don't think it means as much. And now the president's been on the road. He's doing 11 stops in less than a week, and the president's gone all in on the campaign. And I don't believe the polls anymore, because I think there is an incalculable base of Trump voters that will never talk to the media or any pollster. They're going to go click and not answer or lie to them.
Absolutely, and you can see that at every one of the events that the president's hosted, not just over the next coming days, but what we've seen over the last month. It's unprecedented, the types of crowds and the people and the enthusiasm that the president is turning out, particularly when he's not on the ballot. And I think that we have great momentum going into Tuesday. There's great enthusiasm, and the reason is because the president has had an incredible 2 years, and people have to make a decision. Do they want to continue to go down the road that we're on under the president's leadership with a booming economy, one of the best economies we've seen in years, if not in history, is happened under this president, and that's because of the tax cuts. That's because of him getting rid of this job-killing regulations that have been a burden on businesses, particularly small businesses, over the last 8 years.
All right, we have 250,000 jobs, by the way, and normally when you have a hurricane, that impacts job creation. You have literally wage growth, the highest since 2009, unemployment at a 49-year low, 4.5 million new jobs since the president was created. We have literally 8 million Americans off of food stamps and out of poverty in that time, and literally the best 2 years economically that we've ever had. And yet, I don't think I've ever watched any one of the big three networks, the New York Times, Washington Post, ever talk about what is really an economic miracle.
And they all said it couldn't be done. And frankly, Sean, the sad piece is I think a lot of people in the media want to see the president fail, and it drives them absolutely crazy that he continues to succeed week after week, month after month, and deliver on things they said that weren't possible under any president, much less under this president. And he continues to surprise them all, and I think he's going to do it again on Tuesday.
Whatever they pay you, it's not nearly enough. You couldn't pay anybody to. I don't know why you do this job.
I love our country, and I'm proud to serve in this administration. I think we've got a great story to tell, and I'm glad I get to do it.
Boy, that's a great answer. You're serving your country. Oh, yeah, this is, you know, you're carrying a lot of heavy backpacks out there. But Sarah Sanders, thanks for being with us.
You bet. Thanks, Sean.
All right, when we come back, the president back on the campaign trail, be on the trail all weekend, and joined by some special guests. We're going to explain and get reaction with Tammy Bruce, Sean Spicer, all coming up. And we have a little big surprise you don't want to miss. It's big. Straight ahead.
Under Republican leadership, America is booming, America is thriving, and America is winning like never before because we are finally putting America first.
What I want you to say is very simply this: go get 'em, Donald. 1, 2, go get 'em, Donald. 3, go get 'em, Donald.
That was from the president's rally from earlier today as he is barnstorming, crisscrossing the nation. Joining us now with a reaction, America First Action Senior Advisor Sean Spicer, Fox News contributor Tammy Bruce is with us. Tammy, I watched the president. He's going all in. And I watched the Democrats don't have the equivalent of Donald Trump. And I watched, you know, the Georgia race. And I know it's close, but I think Brian Kemp is going to win that race for governor down there. And I'm watching, he just, when you compare him, and this is somebody that was great on the stump in 08 and 12, to President Trump, it just does not have the same zip. I don't know what you want to call it.
Yeah, you know, I think the big difference is, and we can tell, not only can the live audiences tell, but those of us watching him can tell, this is a man who genuinely likes what he's doing, who likes the people that he works for. He loves the country. This is not a game for him. He has a mission as a businessman to accomplish something, and he is all in. This is the difference, and this is part of what got him elected as well. And of course, you know, he knows that his fight has been won, if you will, but he knows that for the American people to continue to succeed, he must have the House of Representatives to be able to continue the agenda. And this is that's part of his commitment, of course. And I think that when it comes to the issues also, this is a big difference. The president is talking about issues, the issues that affect all of our lives. The Democrats constantly still are effectively threatening us with every conversation, with every assertion. It is about chaos. It's about threats. It's about whether it's Nancy Pelosi now and Hillary Clinton saying, well, you know, you give us what we want and we'll, you know, stop being violent. That has got to be unacceptable. But they say that because they don't have the issues with which they can discuss. And one fellow on Twitter, Brian Ure, noted today, 250,000 jobs we know, of course, accomplished. We know in the last jobs report today. And Alec Baldwin punches a guy in the nose. This is jobs, not mobs, right? We got jobs on one hand, mobs on the other one.
You know, you look at the economic numbers today, and they are astounding, historic, Sean Spicer. And then I'm listening to, you know, Adam Schiff and Maxine Waters. They're talking about revenge. We'll do to you what you've done to us, and endless investigation. And I'm thinking, is there one platform? Is there any one policy they're offering? They won't talk about immigration. John Podesta's group said don't. They won't talk about impeachment. They told Maxine to be quiet. What do they stand for? What are they offering the American people that is going to make their lives better? I don't hear any of that.
Well, it's difficult, Sean. The jobs report this morning showed 250,000 jobs in October, which is another continued 200+ thousand a month. We're averaging just over 214,000 jobs a month. Real wages went up 3.1%. That's the largest growth that we've seen in wages since 1969. Sectors like manufacturing, healthcare, hospitality, construction, all areas where I think Democrats would be looking to the working class to say we can provide better policies, but they can't. People are taking home more, they're finding jobs, their lives are better. And that makes it very difficult politically to go out there and say, we will offer you a better solution. So they're having a difficult time doing this, and Tammy's right. They can just go out and scare you because they don't have any real policy items, and the president's getting results. And if I just say, Sean, I mean, look, you correctly put it. The president's running through the tape. America First is now in for millions of dollars. He's in Indiana tonight. We're in $3 million in there. We've been in for Patrick Morrisey in West Virginia. We're all in this together. We're going to win big in the Senate.
You know, we know what the conventional wisdom is, that we hold the Senate pickup seats and the House goes to the Democrats by a tiny margin. I want your predictions. Tammy.
Well, look, the conventional wisdom 2 years ago was Hillary was going to be president. That didn't happen either. I trust in the American people, and that means I believe that will hold the House of Representatives on Tuesday.
What do you think, Sean?
55 seats in the Senate. We hold all 4 seats that Dems are targeting, and we hold the House by 2.
Bravo.
Listen, I like fear as a motivator. And I'm Irish. I'm thinking the worst case scenario, and something's going to go wrong, you know, any second now. But so I hope you're both right. All right, when we come back, a huge announcement. Find out where we will